All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Wakar Kadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son Bahashem. In the name of Hamashiach Yahushai, those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashkadash Holy Tongue, and I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'aki and Wa'akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit down lesson that I want to bring out this recent news article. And I believe you had the federal chair, Jeremy Powell. Yeah, Jeremy Powell, I believe he had spoke today. As he said, the federal holds steady on rates, while the outcome of the economics is going to be a downturn, though, because the war was taking place over there between Iran and the United States. Ever since that campaign of airstrikes took place, almost close to 3 weeks now, the campaign airstrikes of the Israel Defense Force and the Israel Defense Force and the United States over there against Iran. So with that, the oil price has been going up. Price has been going up. That been kind of affect the global economy as well too. Even though they released some reserves, some oil, I believe from the United States and from a different country as well too. That's still, that's still showing forth the prices of gas continue to go up as we speak, and the prices of high prices of items going up as well too, especially over there in the Strait of Hormuz in that region. When oil and oil tanks and import and export supply chains that go sails through that area over there, and then ever since this tension been heating up between Iran and the United States, prices been going up. It says I just want to add a side note to that, and this is a news article from the Senate from CNBC.com, updated Wednesday, March the 18th, 2026 at 4:19 p.m. And it reads, the Dow Jones tumbles more than 750 points. Because I remember, I would think for the past 2 days, the markets had good solid gain. Now, as of today, it had declined. The New York Stock Exchange and around about I would say 3 o'clock, because it's 4 o'clock over there in New York City. It says that the Dow Jones tumbled more than 750 points to a new closing low for 2026, fueled by the inflation woes and federal hold stead on rates. It says stocks sold off on Wednesday after a new U.S. economy data, as well as comments from the Federal Reserve Chief. It says Stokes concerned about the persistent inflation in the country. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 768 points. 768 points, 0.11, or 1.63%, ending at 46,225.15. The index reached a new low for the year and closed below 200-day moving average, with its month-to-day drop now more than 5%. The Dow Jones is on pace for its worst month since 2022, where that was 4.5 years ago. The S&P 500 fell 1.36% to 6,624 and 0.7, while the Nasdaq Composite drops 1.46%, and ending at 22,152.42. It says the Fed kept its Fed fund rate in the range of 3.5 to 3.75, saying it's a post-meeting statement that the implications developments in the Middle East was really Western Asia for the U.S. and economy uncertainty. The forecast and what we been making progress on inflation, not so much as we had hoped, but some progress on inflation. The Federal Chair Jeremy Powell said during a press conference. The central bank signals that it still expects one cut this year. However, the wholesale inflation heats up. The producer price index, which track changes the wholesale price to rose 0.7% in the February, well above 0.3% that economists pulled by the Dow Jones has estimated. That report shows that inflation was already precautious, precautious, precautious spot, if I pronounced that right, spot that the Iran war breaking out in the event that's heightened stagflation fears amending the raise in oil prices. It says it's hotter than expected. Number is specific to tariffs. Todd Skarmenberg, the CIO that the cross-check management says that notice that the metals, industrial, industrial inputs, manufacturers costs are all see high prices. This is a structural inflation, not temporary, and it's likely to go and impact the monetary policy deep into third quarter. And added in hotter energy prices we have seen since the Iran war began. We have yet to show these reports, and the Wall Street is bracing for a rapid rise in prices that will fully flow down the consumer level. The scolding bird continues. International benchmark futures rose 3.83% to settle at 107.38 per barrel at U.S. oil prices, which trading uh, ele- elevated levels, as well as West Texas Intermediate futures closing merely higher at 96.32 per barrel. The moves comes after Israel reportedly struck Iran's largest gas processing facility located in the Russia province. Iran has also threatened attacks on oil facilities in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, which I think they previously did, or I think they did that over in Kuwait and Qatar previously. It says the country this week already launched a new waves of attacks on the United Arab Emirates energy infrastructure, sparking fears about crude and fuel shipping. I think we are a high volatile regime, said Al Shahul Shamal, the chief investment officials at the Savvy Wealth. If oil stay elevated here, we know that it's going to falter into the economy. He continues, nothing that persists energy shocks flowing through to inflation and growth theory to slow. It will be dangerous in combination, and it's going to make the Fed job harder in terms of balancing their mandates. Yep, it says stocks finish sessions lower. U.S. equities close out Wednesday session. Solidarity in the red. The S&P 500 dropped 1.36% to end 6,624.7, while the Nasdaq Composite shares 1.46%, 22,152.42. It says the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 768.11 points, or 1.63 points. The shed 46,225.15. Says an hour ago. It says energy shock are unlikely to trigger a recession, says Bank of America. It says the energy shock caused by the U.S. war in Iran is unlikely to trigger a recession, according to the Bank of America. I don't know how the way it's heading. It seems like it might head towards that way. You see the guy right there with the you see the guy right there with the sad look on his face because the market's tumbled today. Because the market sold off today as the Dow Jones S&P 500 and the Nasdaq Composite was down. This is the book of Jeremiah. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51 and verse 8. Babylon suddenly fall and destroy her, however, take bond for her, and so that she may be healed. Right, so that's no healing for Babylon, the virgin daughter of Babylon, mystery daughter of Babylon. Jeremiah 51 verse 8. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsaking her as and let us go everyone to his own country, for her judgment reaches the heavens, and is lifted up into the skies. Right, so there's no healing for Babylon, especially economically. We see the signs of that. So this was just a sit down lesson that I want to bring out of this recent news article from CNBC.com, updated March the 18th, 2026 at 4:19 p.m. And as I mentioned again a couple of minutes ago, even though the markets had a 2-day winning streak, especially with the Dow Jones, now as of day it went off a sell-off because the Jeremy Powell, a federal chair, he had spoke. He was saying that with this Iran war, the forecast of the economy might tumble, and then what the fears about the inflation as well too. And I believe the inflation interest rates, I believe, from 3.0 to like 3.75%. So they trying to hold it at steady. It says the Dow Jones tumbles more than 750 points to a new closing low for 2026. And I believe they said this is the various low ever since 2022, I believe, fueled by inflation woes. Feds hold steady on rates. So with that, hopefully this was edifying of this recent news article. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Hashem, Kokodash, and the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son, Bahashem. In the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the logical holy tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'aki and Ma'akwa. Till next time, I would say Shalom.